Choosing the best cameras in your settings is going to be very important to helping you get better at MLB The Show. It can really help you read the strike zones when you're hitting, see the motions of your pitching so you can time that pinpoint pitching properly, or just let you see the ball perfectly clear in the field and actually be in the right spot to field ground balls. I'm going to go through all of the camera settings, hitting, pitching, and fielding, give you recommendations based on the different situation you are in, because everyone likes a different camera, and give you some good tips about how these cameras work and why they are important. So I am in custom practice here. We're going to be using custom practice. If you want to practice and find the best cameras for you, do the same thing. Go into custom practice, tinker around in your settings, and you can see all of the different cameras. We're going to start off with the hitting cameras. This is all, again, personal preference. A lot of people will suggest a more zoomed in camera like me. I use strike zone 2. I like the zoom, but the thing is with the cameras, there's different zooms. The cameras are at different angles. Some are offset to the left and offset to the right. It's a little bit of a different viewing angle. So you have to find which one you find the most success with, and it comes with testing and getting a feel for it all. I would recommend a more zoomed in camera, ideally strike zone 2, or strike zone high. All three of these are close enough to the strike zone where you can really see pitches, tell what is a ball and what's a strike. I like strike zone 2 because it's a little zoomed out. I am close to my monitor so I can still tell what's a ball and what's a strike, but I mainly like the height of the camera. I swing at a lot of pitches below in the dirt when I use strike zone 1, and I think it's just because of the angle of the camera. So I like being able to have the camera a little lower with this, be able to tell what is a breaking ball in the dirt, and it really helps you with those pitches below the zone. Strike zone 1 is a little bit more zoomed in than strike zone 2. It's a little bit at a higher angle though, which some people might work out well with, but for some people it might not. And then strike zone high is basically an in-between of strike zone 1 and strike zone 2. Feels a little bit higher, but it's also not as zoomed out as strike zone 2. This is a good third option if you are looking for that in between a strike zone 1 and strike zone 2. Strike zone offset is basically strike zone camera, but it has that slight offset where it's slightly to the side. I don't like hitting with offset cameras because they are off angle, and I have a tough time reading the trajectory of a pitch when I'm not viewing it perfectly straight. Then you have your more zoomed out cameras, offset zoom, offset wide. These are so zoomed out. I don't really recommend them, especially if you are newer at the game, but you could probably find some success with them, especially if you are close enough to your monitor. The thing I don't like about these cameras like catcher high here, for example, is how the zooms look. You see how close Verlander feels? It's tough to read the distance of the pitch and when to swing with cameras like this. Something like fisheye is a little better at least, but even still, it is tough to get a gauge of the strike zone with these cameras, so I really don't recommend them. I recommend a more zoomed in camera so you can really read the details of pitches. Now we flip to pitching. You may not think the camera matters the most with pitching, and I may agree with you, but the thing is, each camera, just like with hitting, it's all about the perspective of seeing your pitcher. For me, it helps being able to see the motion that my pitcher has, so I like being able to see my pitcher more zoomed in. That's why I'm using strike zone 1. So I like to get the perspective of the hitter to help me come up with pitches. When I'm viewing pitching from the hitting side, it allows me to mentally think like I'm a hitter. Think, oh, what is one pitch that'd be very difficult to hit right now? And now I'm viewing it from the hitter's perspective. When I'm looking at it from a pitcher's perspective at pitcher or outfield cam, first of all, the strike zone is so zoomed out, it's very small, it's tough to be precise. Also, I feel like I have a tough time being creative with my pitches, and I'm not viewing pitching in the same perspective as if I'm looking behind home plate. So again, this is just a personal thing more than anything. Find what's comfortable for you, what you enjoy looking at. I use strike zone 3 for a bit so I can see the hitter's stances, but still, I found value in using strike zone 1 because of how zoomed in the zone is, and it really helps me creatively pitch. And then we have our in-play view. You may not think these are the biggest deal ever either. So for example, the default camera is dynamic, and dynamic actually isn't a bad camera, but sometimes when you use dynamic camera, in previous games at least, it was pretty low to the ground, and this constantly moving camera can make it pretty tough to field some grounders and read where the ball is going. And you'll see what I mean. When you hit a grounder, sometimes these angles can mess with you. It's not consistent, the camera's moving. It's tough to gauge where the fielder should be going. So these constantly moving cameras might be tough sometimes. So part of the reason why I don't love dynamic, for example. And normally I do use medium camera. This is what I used to like in previous games. However, what I noticed this year with medium is it feels lower. And even though the camera isn't moving as much to the side, it does follow the ball a lot, and I feel like it could be tough sometimes to read what's going on because it's literally following the ball. Don't know why I threw it a second there, by the way. That was weird. Basically, you want to find the camera for fielding that gives you a good view of the field, allows you to see where the ball is going, and isn't too much of a distraction so you can get your fielder in the right spot consistently. And from my experience, I would guess high is probably a good camera to go for this year, just because it's zoomed out, you get a clear view of the field, and it's moving with the ball slow enough where it's not too distracting. And for those who like broadcast view, this is the camera I definitely can't use because of how off to the side it is. This is the perfect example of why you don't want a distracting camera, because it's very difficult to track where the ball is going all the time. And then the same goes with offense. When you are on offense, you do want to be able to see the ball. Like you want to make sure when you hit the ball to a gap, you know exactly where the ball is going, how high it's hit. You want to have a good perspective of where it's going. If you have your camera set to the wrong camera and you can't see the ball, you may run into issues like sending your runners on fly balls and line drives earlier than you should. That's the last thing you want to do, give extra outs on the base paths. So make sure when you are hitting and you're setting that in-play offense view, you choose the right camera that allows you to read it the best. I like dynamic, because with dynamic hitting camera, I can read these line drives a lot of the time, but also you get a view of the hitter. You see no doubt animation stuff a little easier in online play. And I think it's a nice experience, a nice middle ground, but some people like medium, some people like high, because again, they can track those line drives, see when a ball is really a ball to the gap or a homer, or just a lazy line drive, and actually be able to tell when to send their runners or not. And if you want to, you could turn on the ball trail. I don't like having it on, but this is an option for you if you like it. But yeah, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this camera video. Let me know what cameras you are using in game for hitting, pitching, fielding, all of that. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and these are just my experiences and recommendations. Choose the situation that works best with you though. No matter what I said, what other people say, there's a lot of personalization and things that help you out the most. So I appreciate you all watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you all again on next one. Deuces.